Well, good morning, everybody. I'm out here in my garden this morning. I wanted to spend a few minutes talking to you. It's Good Friday, and I wanted to talk to you about what the garden and the good Lord have in common. I'm going to turn this camera around here. We can kind of look and see what's happening here in the garden. You can see we got a row of onions here that's coming up. Got a little bit of grass in it. This is a row of okra. Then we got some butter beans down yonder. And we got tomatoes, we got peppers and some more tomatoes. I really like tomatoes. And then we got several rows of peas here that are coming up. We got a good rain on all this last night, so everything's looking good. Let's see, let's get down in here and look at some of these peas up close. You can see the old pea here that sprouted, the sprout there that's coming out of the ground, and that'll drop off eventually, and there'll be leaves. And we got some watermelons here. Let's go up through here and see if any of our squash or cucumbers got some of them things. Marigolds, yeah, they're supposed to help with the bugs, I've been told. It don't look like any of my squash or any of my okras coming up. Then we got some green beans here, and then over there, them last two rows where the bigger bushes are, those are potatoes. We've got a few skips in our potatoes, but other than that, they're doing pretty good. So this morning, well, for several days, I've been spending a lot of time thinking about the parallel between planting a seed in the garden out here. You can see I got my farming uniform on here, my overalls. I'm going to try to slip through this hot wire without getting into it. Get out here and get out of the garden. And you know, Jesus, today's Good Friday, and we celebrate Good Friday as the day that Christ was crucified on the cross and put in the grave. And, you know, he was planted in the ground like all of us will be when we're dead and gone. And like I did these seeds out here in this garden. And he didn't stay there. Just like these seeds that I plant in the garden, they shoot up new life. And on the third day, Jesus shot up with a new life, a new body. And he went to heaven a few days later, and that's where he's at right now, making intercession for us. So as we go into Easter and we look at Good Friday, we need to be thankful that we had a Savior that was willing to leave heaven, come and live a perfect life on this earth, be hung on a cross when the book tells us that all he had to do was say the word, and God would have sent legions of angels down to take him off of that cross, destroy mankind, and we would have no hope. But we do have hope. If we have put our faith and trust in him, then we've got the hope that when we close our eyes in this life and we open our eyes in the next life, that we'll be with him in heaven, because the book tells us that to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And if we're one of his children, that's where we're going to be. In 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 20, it says, "But now is Christ risen from the dead and become the firstfruits of them that slept. For since by man came death, by man came also the resurrection of the dead." So when Adam and Eve sinned in the garden, they brought death to us. The Lord told them, he said, if you eat of that tree, you're going to die. And the old devil talked them into doing it anyway. Now, they didn't drop dead right that minute, but they were separated from God from that point forward. And, you know, we're always, in this life, we're always going to have sin that separates us from God to some extent. But one day, if we're his children, when we draw our last breath on this world, when we close our eyes for the last time here and we wake up in heaven, we'll not be separated anymore. We'll have a perfect body that don't hurt in the mornings when we get up. We'll have a perfect mindset that isn't prone to wondering and thinking about things that it shouldn't think about. And we'll also be in his presence forever, where the Son of God himself is the light. And as Easter comes upon us in a couple of days, that's to celebrate the resurrection of Christ. And if he can raise himself from the dead, it is surely no problem for him to raise me and you from the dead. If you don't know Jesus as your Savior, today's the day. You're not promised tomorrow. you need to come to him before it's eternally too late. Because there is another way, there is another condition that you can die in, and that's lost. And the outcome of dying lost is eternal separation from God. It's eternal death, and it is an eternity in darkness with the devil and tormenting his demons. So come to know Jesus before it's too late. Be thankful that he came and lived and died on the cross for you and rose again on the third day.